I believe we're currently in a time where hating the Jews is just the most mainstream thing to do, right? There is the largest audience for it. Unfortunately, there's the largest appetite for it, etc. And many of these people don't actually have a perspective. They don't have a stance. They don't have any reasoning behind it beyond the fact that they want to be a part of the collective hive mind, collective conscious, right? Most people are deathly afraid of not being a part of the mainstream. As much as people may fool you to say, oh, the alternative sources, X, Y, and Z, most people do not want to be left out of a conversation. And so if they see that the tide is turning one way, they will go along with that tide, even if it means being a part of, dare I say, one of the most dangerous movements that has already shown itself to be exactly that. What I mean specifically is this. There were people who stood by, were silent, or who just tacitly approved of the Holocaust. That's how that went down. The Armenian genocide, there were people who simply stood by because they were afraid to be the one that stood up and stood out. And so this is massive in Hollywood. It is probably the epicenter of where you see this sort of, we're all in this together, even if we're dead ass wrong. We don't know what we're talking about so long as we're aligned. And now, they have been canceling some of their darlings, the likes of Gal Gadot, these people who they saw as superstars in their eyes, who end up not necessarily going along with the narrative because they can't, because they're seeing their own people being massacred, slaughtered, R-worded, etc. Hollywood is an interesting place because they've sort of positioned themselves as being a part of the voice of the struggle. Just me saying it sounds crazy as hell, right? These multimillionaires and some billionaires who've spent most of their lives in the lap of luxury, living in ivory towers, and they are one with the struggle. But anyway, they have claimed to be, a part of these activist movements, etc. And it's been mind-blowing to me to witness the level of hypocrisy, because all of a sudden we're in a time where there is a small, minority group who is being attacked by a majority of the people, an ethnically diverse group of people. And, dare I say, in many ways, quite liberal and progressive in many of their stances, and yet they're being attacked. And instead, who is being endorsed and supported are the totalitarian, true fascistic, Islamic extremists who would take away every single right of the Holly weirdos, every single one of them. Oh, women, out of here. The queers, gone. Transformers. They're throwing just regular old LGs and Bs off of the damn buildings. What are they doing with a transformer? But yet here we are in a place where, these individuals have basically staked their claim that they care more about being accepted in their little kumbaya circles than doing the right thing. And so I just wanted to bring a video up of a young lady who was touching base on this. And I feel this is one of the most actual important videos on this subject that I've seen thus far. Not because it has all the, necessary, all the information or, the boots on the ground sort of perspectives or whatever, maybe even historic context, but it is a real human story and is putting things into perspective. And, as she's going to state, the Jew hate thing is going to run its course. And I pray to God it doesn't get to a place where we have a repetition of quite recent history. But on the other side of this are going to be those who feel that stain of guilt for the rest of their existence and their children's lives. It comes with it. Actually being on the wrong side of history has real ramifications and consequences. Germans still have fear of being associated with their German ethnicity because of what people, who were not them, were complicit to.
In some ways, I feel sorry for you two. I feel sorry for Bono and Madonna for exposing themselves at this time in their careers. They have both had undeniable success for decades. They are some of the most important artists in the history of music. But what they have done during this window of opportunity that's presented itself over the last month for people desperately clutching at relevancy or desperately trying to clean up their public, their reputation or their public image, because, well, in Bono's case, you know, he came out immediately after October 7th and said something very resonating and morally courageous, actually, about the Nova Music Festival and condemning Hamas attacks. For Madonna, I guess the case is that she has worked with Jews her entire life. She's played in Israel many times. She was very into Kabbalah back in the 90s. They're cleaning things up. They are baying to pressure. You know how many messages I get from entertainment industry people per month saying that they have been pressured privately on direct message by trolls, by other people in the industry, to publicly unfollow me because it's not a good look, etc., etc. I feel sorry for Bono and Madonna, and the reason I feel sorry for them is because this moment will pass, and there will be reconstruction, and Jew hatred works in cycles, and the cycles end, and then history shows when the fever pitch of Jew hatred existed and who pandered to it, who promoted it, who fell for it, and who was a righteous Gentile, and who were Jews without trembling knees, who resisted it despite what it cost them, who had moral integrity, who were honest people.
It's incredible because as I listen to this and I think back to, you know, leaders such as Churchill, what the hell would that man be thinking if he were here to see what England has become today in relationship to this subject? Imagine being one of the lone voices in the wilderness crying out to say, the threat that is coming from out east is a very real threat. And if we don't deal with it accordingly, it will soon destroy us all. Imagine a man who warned of the Islamic regime, or essentially the Islamic ideology, and how it was this totalitarian, all-encompassing, all-consuming force he had seen in his earlier years in the military. Imagine that same Churchill looking at what the hell's going on right now. To see the West bowing the knee to those forces while ridiculing the ones who are the actual, dare I say, victim in this situation. Imagine that. Like that, for some reason, I just got that imagery in this moment. I'm like, wow, how far we've come. I mean, I'm guessing she's Irish. So, you know, you could include a majority of Western Europe into that conversation. Imagine being part of the Allied forces who fought against actual evil only for people to be, you know, having conversations like, well, maybe the little mustache man was correct. Maybe Churchill was the bad guy. Yeah, it's going to be real. Again, I don't know. I don't have any sort of crystal ball into the future necessarily. I don't know how this one is going to end out. I just know what my place is in it. I know what my responsibility is in the place and time that we are. I don't know if we're going to have to go through a massive, massive wake-up call, which is what I fear But then again, I don't hold on to that fear. I'm not to have a spirit of fear. And so I say, if this is what's necessary for people to wake up, then they're going to have to find themselves on the other side of this. How many people woke up, in 1948 and were like, what the happened? What did I do? What did I sign up for? What was I complicit to? Like, oops ain't gonna do it. Your neighbors have been dragged. You were a part of it. At the very least, you stood back while it happened. At the very least. And for me, it was comfortable at first until I couldn't unsee what I was seeing. I couldn't unread what I was reading. And when the truth hits you, it hits you. You just decide what you're going to do with it. Are you going to bury your head in the sand and pretend it's not happening while you're still responsible for what is happening? Or will you have the necessary courage to, at the very least, tell the truth? These people are messaging her. They're lying. They know what's right. They know what's wrong. They want to stand up against, but they won't. That's cowardice.
Who were brave, who were authentic, who were who they claimed to be. That will be revealed. And history will show that at the ends of their careers, U2, Bono and Madonna and such like decided to throw the Jews under the bus in order to have, as I said, this last-ditch, desperate attempt at relevancy. Because now provided a window of opportunity in the last month for people to get on the bandwagon and support jihad and terrorists and their narrative, to support rapists and murderers over believing Jews. 15 million Jews on the planet. This morning there's a story about the Toronto International Film Festival, who have taken a film off their program, a film that tells survivor stories from October 7th. And the excuse that they have used is that Hamas have not given permission.
This is just the human in me right now. We are so cooked. I'm not saying that as like hopeless. I'm just like, maybe this is what the West needed to wake up. Maybe this is what it needed to actually stand for something again and to be bold again and to get off its fat ass. I'm not sorry about that. Maybe this is what it takes to get off the damn couch, stop door dashing through Klarna, paying $250 payment installations for a damn burrito while you're motionless on the damn couch, drowning yourself. Maybe this is what we needed to have that kick in the ass, that wake-up call. Like, the one thing I can say is this. With the jihadists, they believe in something. They believe in death. They believe in destruction. They believe in conquering and taking over. They believe in control. But they believe in something. And the part that gets me is I want to believe that we all believe in something. Here in the Western world, this beautiful concept that has come as a byproduct of Judeo-Christian values that we have built on that foundation. I would love to think that today, in this day and age where we stand today, here, year of our Lord 2025, we stand for something actually. I want to believe it, but it's so hard for me when I hear stuff like that. Oh, sorry, we had to pull this video of October 7th because the jihadists were offended and they didn't want it shown.
for the GoPro footage of the atrocities to be shown in this film. The GoPro footage that Hamas published on social media platforms such as Telegram. They haven't given their permission, apparently. So victims and survivors of atrocities cannot have their stories told because the perpetrators of the violence need to grant permission for their snuff movie that they made. It is the apex of moral cowardice right now. The world.
I'm watching this in real time, by the way. I didn't know she was going to get into that. The Macrons, the Starmers, the Marses, the Carney, whatever the hell. The replacement for Trudeau. That's what I'll call him right now. Because he's no better. Weak. Shout out to Viktor Orban, by the way. Shout out to Viktor Orban. He's the only one I can sit here comfortably in Europe, outside of DJT, my GOAT president, who I can say has a pair of damn gonads. The rest of y'all
has totally capitulated to the narratives of a terrorist organization. And if you're not Jewish, you should be very aware of this. This isn't something that you should gloss over just because you're not Jewish and you don't think it affects you.
That's something I've been trying to articulate from the first video when I first opened my mouth. And I still get, oh, you care so much about Jew. You're a Masadi. You're a Bibi Netanyahu's little pet. If you don't understand this is a story about you, wherever you are, unless you live already in this, totalitarian system, if you don't live in one yet, you're on your way. And the more you la, or you become a contributing force to this, stand in alignment, because we're at a place where you are picking a side. It's good versus evil. And it's masqueraded as simply the conversation of the Jews versus the Palestinians. It's never been about that. It's about an ideology that looks to destroy everything unlike itself versus freedom. Think about it. The epitome of freedom. The Nova Festival. A music festival. Kids, young people, freely enjoying themselves are ransacked by a totalitarian, militant, controlling force. There's no more accurate image of what the hell we are currently seeing, experiencing, or some are closing their eyes to. And even me, somebody who's speaking on this on a regular basis, I sometimes realize, oh, you don't actually, you're not going far enough. You're not going far enough. And so that's why I've been on this perpetual knocking, crying out. That's what I feel called to. I've always been the type of person to say, don't give over to, the negativity, this, that, and a third. We're beyond that. There is nobody who was better at burying their head in the sand than I was, in the name of spirituality or whatever else it may have been. I was afraid to look at the reality, not realizing that my very denial of it is what allows it to exist.
When the media has been totally owned by terrorists and terrorist organizations, when the New York Times is printing a puff piece glorifying and praising yesterday an Al-Quds terrorist as some sort of freedom fighter, it's not just the Jewish people who are in trouble. This is
I'm gonna let y'all watch the rest of this video. It's about 2 minutes left, but I just wanted these closing words, and I got to go eat. I am starving. The leftists have been the perfect tool, the perfect spawn for jihad, for the Trojan horse. The narrative of brown people and the oppression of brown people and the oppression of poor people, and they were easily enough duped into, this is a fight of brown people versus white people. That's at the core of why the leftists are so gung-ho on this pro-Palestine nonsense. They see the Jew as the white and the Palestinian as the brown, the black, the disenfranchised, the marginalized, etc. They call Hamas freedom fighters. Do y'all know that? I did a video with a young lady in the very beginning, relatively close to actual October 7, 2023. Leftist, of course. And she said that Hamas are freedom fighters. And she believes it. The same woman who for her queerness would likely be tossed off the side of a building for what she is, how she presents herself in the world. Saying this in a nation where she is able to freely express herself. Like, I wish we could just download information. Like, oh, did you know that Saddam used to have people who spoke in opposition, anything negative about him, he used to have them tortured, fingers being extricated, fingers being chopped off, mutilated. There was a man who made a suggestion in his courts, and he said, maybe we should do this a little different. And Saddam said, you know what, basically step aside. Man went missing for a while. His family member said, what happened to our family member? They said, please return our family member. He said, oh, no, don't worry. I'll send him back. Sent the man back in a bag, in pieces. A man who just made a suggestion. That was an alignment, by the way. These are the sort of ruthless individuals that you're dealing with. And my only fear, it's a temporary fear because it's not eternal, right? I know where we are in the grand scheme of eternity. But in the immediate, my fear is those of us who are not the leftists, who are not standing outside with those jihadist flags, endorsing, telling them come in and do the same to us. The rest of us are just going to sit on the sidelines. That's a fear of mine. And just sort of look out and hope. You know what I mean? I had a full-blown conversation with a Belgian man, and he was, when we finally got there and his wheel was churning, it was like a water faucet of just like our heritage, our home, our rights. Like, we can't even vote for who we want. It was all spewing out of him. All of it was spewing out of him. A man who you would otherwise think. And this same man had been propagandized about who Donald Trump was, believing Donald Trump to be a totalitarian dictator, a racist, etc. Even in his own conservatism and his fear of, expressing that conservatism in such a country, he couldn't hold back what he was. But to me, it's like, why behind the confines of these walls? Why behind the confines of this conversation? This needs to be the global conversation. We need to stop being afraid. Stop being pussies. Stop being afraid to tell the truth to your sister, your brother, your neighbor, your whacked out, whoever it is. They're going to triple down. They're going to quadruple down. You need to do the exact same. And this is me talking to me, because this is a conversation I had to have with myself. Is if not you, then who else? I've told people to their faces before, you're propagandized. And then I spew the facts. You're propagandized. That's not true. That's a lie. Said it to their face. And so I would hope that we all do so, because the ideas are what then lead to the outcomes and the actions. You have power. Your voice has power. Your communication, which you allow and do not allow, has power. But if you don't, and this is ironic because it's the same things that these activists claim to be practicing, right? Stand up for the right thing, speak out, silence is violence, all that sort of thing. This is real. And if you don't, then you're complicit. So shout out to, what's her name? Eve Barlow. Shout out to Eve Barlow. We might have her on the show at some point. I'm in a place now where I'm ready to start having these conversations. I want to see what's the best way we can present this to you guys, but we're probably going to end up having some sort of back and forth for y'all. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. Now, if you'd like to stay around, make sure to click that little subscribe button down there, or you can show some love by going to the description below and clicking on the button titled Buy Me a Coffee. Leave a little something there, or click on the Cash App. Leave a little something here. Till the next time, peace. Aquarius. Where?
I've been up for hours, I've been up for days, yeah. Staring at the ceiling, I've been counting strays, yeah. I've been in my feelings, I've been out of mind. I've been getting visions of the other kind. Yeah, I've been up for weeks. I'm in the count of blessings over counting sheep. I can never be the type to limit when it comes to me. I used to be the pleaser for the people.